Hello again, I'm Doug Smith, and welcome to the 26 January 2018 edition of Portsmouth This Week, the voice of Portsmouth Town Hall. Our special guests today are Ray Antea, our town's recycling coordinator, and Courtney Forster, who's the program manager from Waste Zero. Welcome back. You guys were just on the show a couple weeks ago.
Thank you, Doug. Thanks.
Great to be here again.
Ray, before we get into the details, more details of our new trash disposal system, I wonder if you could just briefly summarize the financial reasons that we're doing this.
Well, the financial reasons are that the cost for essentially everything is going up, you know, from the transfer station operations to the hauling of the materials, and when it gets up to Johnston, the landfill, to actually tip the materials.
Yeah.
We've seen increased costs across the board, and actually we were quite surprised by how much of an increase that there was.
Yeah. And we have no control over those increases. It's not like there's something we could have done to
There's nothing.
include that.
I mean, we have good relations with the companies that submitted bids, but no matter how much they like us, their costs are going to be, you know, the same that they need to be.
Yeah.
And so we had to. We were shocked by the increase in costs, and you know, the cost that was going to be passed on to the residents of Portsmouth had to reflect that.
Yeah.
You know,
And the reason is it's in an enterprise fund which has to be funded itself. It's not part of the town budget.
Correct. Back in 2006, there was a town meeting. They call it the tent meeting, and I guess it was decided at that time to have the transfer station funded in a separate fund.
Yeah.
Called
The reason was
fund.
so we didn't have to raise taxes that year.
Correct.
But,
Correct.
as you say, prices are constantly going up. It seems to me I remember somebody saying we were looking at, if we just did this without the pay-as-you-throw, we'd be looking at about $300 for a sticker.
We were looking at, with 4,000 households between ourselves and the residents on Prudence, we have about 3,700 or 3,800 households here in Portsmouth itself. The cost was going to be around $310, and I had seen it as high as $320. So when you go from $160 to $320, I mean, it's actually a doubling of the cost to us.
Yeah.
It's going to be a doubling of the cost for the sticker.
Yeah, that does get people's attention already.
It got our attention, and it got everyone else's attention.
So anyway, but the solution, though, I think, was something other towns have done, other cities and towns have done, was to go to a pay-as-you-throw system. What were the main reasons that the council decided to do this?
Again, the cost. They were as surprised and as shocked as the town employees as to how much it was going to cost. And so we put out the survey to see which were the interests of the town, and it came back basically twofold, between curbside and to maintain the transfer station. And then we had the relative costs that was associated with each of those systems. We presented those costs to the council, and we showed them what it would be without any any additional funding, for the enterprise fund, and it would have been around $310. But with pay-as-you-throw, we presented that to them as well, and it was able to be reduced considerably. We were looking at $180 to $160 per sticker price. But it was decided at a council meeting that the operation of Prudence Island would be removed from the enterprise fund and put back into the general fund. You know, our costs were going to go from about $600,000 to almost $1,200,000.
Yeah.
By removing Prudence from that equation, it dropped it down to around $1 million. And you know, we were able to calculate at a cost of about $140 per sticker for about 3,500 households. We would be able, with pay-as-you-throw, we would be able to meet the costs.
Does it look like we're getting that kind of number?
Well, we don't know yet.
You won't know yet until
it's
after
a
1
little
February.
premature for how much. I mean, I'm in town hall every day, and there are lines of folks that are getting the sticker.
Yeah. Okay, good.
So we're encouraged by that.
So basically, the fees that are raised by pay-as-you-throw then will offset the costs by a large...
That's correct. We've seen estimates of between $350,000 to, say, $400,000 based on those 3,500 households that would come in. We have about, almost $400,000 to make up from last year's $600,000 to get us up to the $1 million. And pay-as-you-throw is the funding mechanism to get us there.
Okay. Now we segue over to you, Courtney. Basically, how does the system work?
Sure. So as Ray mentioned too, and we talked about last time, is there's still some trash in the waste stream that just isn't getting out there, and it's very expensive to manage. So pay-as-you-throw really helps, just like we pay for our cell phone bills and our water and our gas and electric at home, you're not going to leave the lights on if you're paying that bill. And so with a pay-as-you-throw, instead of just paying a sticker fee or thinking about it one time or quarterly, however it was billed, you're thinking about it each time you're disposing of your materials. So it helps residents to rethink their behaviors at home and in their purchasing habits, because it has that slight little bit of a pinch, because the bags do pay for the cost of disposal. Recycling, there's no extra fee for that, so residents can dispose of the recyclables as they were before at no charge. So it really helps people manage their own trash. So in this case, starting on the 1st, residents will have purchased the orange bags, which we'll talk about in a little bit on what stores are available at now, just like they were before. Put their trash inside. There are 3 sizes, and then they bring them to the transfer station to dispose of the recyclables for free as they were before. So the residents are just buying bags, filling them up, and bringing them to the transfer station. Not much different what they were doing before. Now just buying a brightly colored orange bag instead of maybe a white or a black bag from a generic one.
Yeah, and as we were talking earlier, I think that it makes it much more equitable. If you
Absolutely.
have a family that does not produce a lot of trash,
Yep.
They're not paying the same as a family of 6 or something that has a lot of trash every week.
Absolutely.
So you pay for what you're using essentially. Plus, it kind of makes people want to recycle.
Yep, it makes you really think about, instead of just, maybe the kitchen items, your soup cans and your newspapers, you think about the different items in the home and think about what really can be recycled and what you can do to minimize your trash at your own home.
Yeah, let me just throw a graphic up here.
Sure.
Perhaps you can talk to that a little bit.
Yeah, so there's the 2 pictures of the 2 of the bags that we have available. Again, there are 3 sizes. So there's a large 33-gallon bag, a tall kitchen trash bag at 15 gallons, and we also have a mini bag, which is 8 gallons. $2 for the large, $1.25 for the small or tall kitchen, and $1 for the mini. And as you can see on the chart, Waste Zero receives about 30 cents for a large bag. The rest of it, the $1.70 balance, goes to the town to be able to pay for the trash disposal inside of it. So we're just getting the cost of the actual bag. We manufacture, deliver, maintain inventory, and take orders from the stores. That's what that 30 cents per bag is for. And the rest is for the contents of the bag.
Now, is there any fee that the town pays you, or
Just that.
is it just the bags?
Just the bag fee. Everything's in there. That's the whole program fee, again, to manufacture, distribute, inventory, and take the orders and do the accounts for the stores.
Okay. Ray, do you think we want to show the bags? Just, I know everybody's been waiting to see
We
what
do
they
have
look like.
samples. It's very
Okay,
exciting.
I'm not sure how we're going to do this
The big
for the
reveal,
cameras.
but if I may, the bags will come
And some
in
sleeves.
sleeves, in plastic sleeves, in the 3 different sizes. We have the large, the medium, and the small. And the bags themselves, with the town logo,
Yeah, I'll hold
this
up
is the
one.
large, this is the 33-gallon.
Yep.
And the only thing
the 15
the
you can-
residents will
Other
put in
side.
this bag is their trash. And the more you can save,
hold
the
yours
more
all
you
the
can
way up.
recycle.
You can see the different sizes. Yep, side by
That's a
side.
33-gallon and a 15-gallon. And we also have an 8-gallon. So it has our town logo on it. And with each,
There's the 8-gallon.
let's see, so you get, with a sleeve, you buy the plastic sleeves, and you get 10 of the small ones, 5 of the large ones, and 8 of the medium-sized bags for $10.
Yep.
Okay.
And they are in stores.
Yep, as of
They are in
today,
stores
they're
as
being
of today.
delivered today. We have 9 stores that are will be stocked as of today, and then 2 more on Monday, and a few more will be kind of coming along as they get set up. We do have the full store listings on the website, which you can link to from the town's website, or you can go directly to the website's also on the bag. reducethetrash.com/PortsmouthRI is the website, and right now, I'll just list them for you. Clements Marketplace, both Cumberland Farms, Domina's Agway, Patriot Petroleum, Ace Hardware, Prudence Variety, Rite Aid at 3034 East Main, and Green Grocer are the ones receiving shipments today, so
Okay.
be ready for the weekend.
I think Clements is going to be the main one. That's where everybody seems to go.
Yeah, a
And
lot
it's
of
close to the transfer station.
Yeah, that's right.
on the way they can grab it too. And then we have a couple more coming along. And with the stores too, if there's a a retailer that any residents shop at and they're not carrying them, ask the retailer if they'd like to carry, and then contact Ray at the town and we can get them set up. We're just kind of starting out with the main players, but we can certainly add more if there's interest and demand.
I've had 2 other retailers come into my office and say they would also like to sell the bags, and so there's definite buzz about it.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to do great. It's a sea change for the people of
Well,
Portsmouth.
that's good. I think, just from a resident's perspective, as much as I resisted something that I think just makes it more complicated, I can certainly feel that it's equitable, much more so than it was before.
Yes.
But there's no reason for somebody with just a little bit of trash to pay the same as somebody with a lot. And this
No.
kind of makes us recycle too. So
Right.
And environmentally, it makes sense because you're going to increase more. They expect
Yeah.
at least perhaps as high as a 44% reduction in our waste. So, I mean, even if we did 25%, that would be 1,000 less tons.
yeah. Well, Courtney, that goes back to you. What about other towns that
Sure.
you guys have worked for? You've done this all over the country.
Right, we've been doing this about over 20 years in about 800 communities nationwide. And if you want to show the one slide that shows a couple of them, you can see
Yeah,
the...
this one here, I think.
Yep, that's a great one. We see, as Ray said, a reduction of 44% on average. Sometimes it's more, sometimes a little bit less, but usually it's at least 40%. So you can see on the top left, Waterville, Maine there. That's a year picture of when they adopted it and then how it fell down basically instantly. That's the first month it fell right down. I think those are weekly tonnages for that year. And then over to the right, Dartmouth, Mass, those are yearly tonnages. So you can see that when trash metering was adopted, that was fiscal year 2007 in the blue bars. And then the next year, 2008, it dropped, and it continued to drop, and it's been staying low. That only goes up to 2013, but they're continuing for the last 4 years. It maintains, which is great. Again, in Natick, you saw a 35% decline in waste. And the interesting story we have on the bottom right is some folks will say, oh, well, we'll do it for a little bit, and then we'll remove it, and we'll have the same savings, and it'll be great. As you can see in Sanford, Maine, on the bottom right, they adopted trash metering in the beginning of the graph there, and then in 2010, they adopted it in 2010, and they had it for several months, and then it went back to regular, and the trash went back up. And so when they enacted it once again 3 years later, it went back down. It's that bag that just provides that little bit of a pinch point that allows residents to really think about what they're doing as a reminder. And again, as you said, there's different size bags. So there is that 8-gallon bag. You don't have to, if you're going on vacation but you didn't have a full bag of trash, you didn't want to waste the money, you can fill up an 8-gallon with a couple of wrappings you might have had before you head out of town. But there's definitely, we're seeing the story consistently throughout, and we're very confident that the exact same thing will happen here in Portsmouth.
And actually, the drop-off is fairly consistent, too,
Yes.
in terms of numbers
Yes.
across town. So
Yes, and anything else like we saw in Dartmouth, and I think I have some other examples on another slide. Sometimes you even see an additional drop after that first year because more people get on board or aware of it.
Yeah.
It's the full year. Some towns, have a hard time getting up to speed just because they're how it gets confusing. But now that it's pretty much status quo, folks just know what to do, and they're very proud of their status. They want to maintain their status of low trash. So the next year they either want to maintain or beat, even if they've had an increase in residents. You'll have more people and the same or less trash, which is very impressive.
one of Ray's jobs is to shame us into feeling that way about our
While we're talking numbers,
recycling.
very few people realize that there's a state mandate to all communities in Rhode Island to achieve a 35% recycling rate and a 50% diversion rate for materials like metal and books, whatever, your diversions. Now, many people know that Portsmouth was down around 15% recycling, and we were at around 20% diversion rate. I don't think any community has reached the 50%, and maybe one or two. But other than that, many of us are struggling. But in this year's, every year, every community has to provide to Rhode Island Resource a totaling of all the diversions that they had throughout the year. And this is the first time that I've seen where they're asking communities, well, what is your plan? When will you achieve these numbers because as of 2012 is when we were supposed to have met the guidelines. This when this was enacted. And so now they're
Like
asking,
so many other things in Rhode Island.
they're asking when is this going to be achieved, and how are you going to achieve this? Even though we've had good results since we've got a new team in at the transfer station, our numbers have improved. I believe only with a program like Pay As You Throw, can we achieve a consistency and hopefully hit those numbers that the state's demanding.
So perhaps at the end of, like next year sometime, when you guys come back next year, maybe, whenever it is, we should be able to see a graph here showing months in Portsmouth and see
I
if
think
we
so.
see the same kind of
Absolutely.
drop-off.
Yeah, we'll be helping you to monitor that as well and working with Ray.
Now, to be clear, people don't need orange bags for trash or for recycling. They can recycle just like they do now.
Correct.
Paper bags or.
Right. Well, I mean, we do sell the recycle bins, the 22-gallon
Yeah,
blue bins
yeah,
at Town Hall. But, you know, you can dispose of your recyclables in whatever is convenient for you. If you have a
Okay.
trash barrel or a cardboard box, if you throw it in a cardboard box, we ask that you break the cardboard box down afterwards if you're not going to, or take it home with you, you know. But it is recyclable, and you can break those down and throw that into the recycle bin as well.
Yeah, I guess my question is, who's going to enforce these pay-as-you-throw rules? For example, the only thing that should be going into our trash compactor are orange bags.
Well, we have had an adjustment on what's going to go into the trash compactor because we were getting some pushback because there are large, bulky items like a large couch or a headboard. Those things in the past, a large bureau, they will go into the trash pit. Well, very large items tend to jam the machine.
Sure.
And once that machine is jammed, it slows everything down, and we go to
I
one.
can't imagine, I guess, somebody's putting a trunk in, or
A large couch, yes.
couch, rather.
So we have come to a compromise, if you will, with J.R. Vinagro for something. If something is 5 feet or less, approximately, it can be thrown into the
Without a bag.
Without a bag into the trash. If you have a chair, if you have a small desk, that can go in. Just let the guys know that are working there, because some of these materials they can use as construction and demolition if it's primarily wood, and they'll say, no, we can take that and put it over here. But we will allow those smaller, bulky items to be thrown into the pit.
Okay, but check with the attendant
Check
there
with the
first.
attendant. And to your first question as to how we're going to monitor this, well, we've had both the security guards and the personnel from J.R. Vinagro come in for a review of procedures for training, and the security guards now are on alert. So we ask the residents to be patient with us, because it might actually slow things down a little bit, because if there's a van coming in or a truck with a tarpaulin, they're going to be asking what's in there, so that folks aren't sneaking in a lot of C and D that they're not aware
Yeah.
of. Things like that.
Okay, and somebody will be there if they see people trying to throw an old black trash bag in it.
Right.
Then
Well, we do have another employee that has been hired to keep an eye.
that's his main function. Is
That's his primary function.
Yeah.
And basically keep an eye on the yard, but primarily he'll be inside to keep an eye on those bags.
okay, so what happens if somebody does that?
If somebody does it, at first we will tell them that they shouldn't be doing that. It's orange bags only. They would have gotten past the security guard already, because they're monitoring for the orange bags. But if people are quick and things get busy, if they're throwing the bags in, we're going to say, you can't do that. You have to go buy your orange bags. And there'll be a warning first time. But we do have film, we have cameras on hand, and the guards are known to take a photo of the offender. If it becomes an issue, give that to me, and we will make note of it in Town Hall. And you can lose your privileges
Now
or be fined.
the guy when you drive in on the right in that little booth, he's the security guy?
He is the security guard, and those are town employees.
Okay.
And the gentleman managing the transfer station, those work for J.R. Vinagro.
Okay. I just saw in the paper the other day that we're getting a new hydraulic ram
Yes. It's for our trash
device for
compactor.
the trash compactor.
The one that we have now with larger items, and it jams up consistently. And so a new compactor will be put in about 6 to 8 weeks. It'll be put in on a Monday and Tuesday and a Wednesday. So there'll be an inconvenience to the residents for about 2 days. But after that, the recycling will be outside while that's happening, and there'll be you'll go through and just deposit your trash where the recycling is right now. After those 2 days, those 3 days, we'll have a new compactor, and hopefully that'll speed up operations moving forward.
Yeah. Okay, we talked a lot last time about the new rules for using the transfer station.
Right.
And I wonder if it would be worth just kind of revisiting those again. For example, it's supposed to be, the transfer station is supposed to be used for household trash.
Right. It is for the residents of Portsmouth, and not commercial operations. No commercial landscapers, commercial contractors with large loads, they're not allowed. And so the guards are trained to keep an eye on that. By not having your trailers, we've eliminated trailers. That'll help with preventing damage to the transfer station building itself, as well as abuse, with so much material coming in on those.
I guess the one that aggravated me, at least, was the guys using their transfer station sticker to take their neighbors and others' waste there and get a few bucks, almost like making a living from this thing.
And it's still going on. We'll see large pickup trucks come in, 20 bags, 30 bags full. And the guy says, like they said to me, you'd be surprised how many grandchildren I have.
Yeah.
Well, if that person's coming through with 20 or 30 orange bags, because that's all that's going to be allowed, well, if they're paying 40, it may be a one-off on something like that.
Well, that's the other side of pay-as-you-throw bags. Is,
Absolutely.
There is a control mechanism where if somebody comes in on more than one occasion, and sometimes they come through daily, well, they're not going to be coming through daily picking up for the neighborhood at that expense.
Yeah.
And we'll know it, and we'll make note of it, and we can alert certain parties to keep an eye on, see if they're going around their neighborhood and picking up. And they will lose their privileges.
Okay, so we do have a hammer at the other end of this.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I'm sure it'll be used very, lightly, but...
One of the biggest hammers, if you will, the residents of Portsmouth. We're all in this together, those of us who are using the transfer station. And if you see a neighbor peer pressure is one of the best vehicles for maintaining the correct way to do things. And if someone's going through the effort to recycle properly and buy the bags and do the right things, and they see someone behind them, ignoring that because they can sneak something in, well, they might just say, look, you shouldn't be doing that.
Oh, maybe.
Maybe.
But I think the idea now that you have to buy the bags.
That's correct.
So it's going to cost you. So it'd be very hard for somebody to make a living or get a lot of extra cash by doing this. And if they get caught, they could lose their privileges, which is probably what would happen.
They can lose their privileges.
Okay, that's good to know. What about stuff, we talked about this earlier, like a chair or a refrigerator, for example. Can I still bring that to the...
The diversions haven't changed, and I think part of the misconception is that it seems like everyone's rushing to get their refrigerators and their stoves to the transfer station. We haven't seen as many as has been in recent memory. It's almost overflowing, and we're doing our best to get it out of there, but you can still bring your refrigerators and your stoves to the transfer station. It's included in the cost of the transfer sticker. Same thing with metal objects, propane tanks, mattresses. All we ask with mattresses is that you call first to see if there's room available for that mattress, because if it has to be left outside, if the bin is full, and if it gets wet, we have to pay $50, and so we have to charge the resident $50 for that. And if there's any fee, if you come in with a large C and D load, more than a 32-gallon barrel, you're going to have to pay the $75, and no money will be collected at the transfer station. All fees will be paid at Town Hall.
Town Hall.
Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned earlier that the Prudence Island trash system, do they also have to buy bags?
They will, and that begins February 1st.
Okay.
For them as well.
So essentially everybody in Portsmouth has to buy these bags to use the transfer station. Let's talk about recycling a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Only because on the face of it, it's very simple, right? But then when you start looking at the exceptions and things, so for example, what can you put into, and maybe I'll use some graphics here, to the recycle bin? And let's start with paper, cardboard, and cartons.
The landfill, most landfills, 40% of a landfill is comprised of paper. 15% of a landfill is comprised of newspaper. So we ask that folks take that newspaper out, and it's recyclable. Same thing with milk cartons. We rinse them out a little bit. Newspapers, cardboard, flatten down your cardboard. We ask it to be no larger than 3 by 5 foot. Shredded paper used to be recyclable, but now because of the conditions that it creates up in Rhode Island Resource up in Johnston, it's like confetti and it jams the machines. We no longer can accept shredded paper unless we had a dedicated container for it, but we don't. So that has to go. Shredded paper has to go into the trash, and they'll have to go into the trash bags, the orange bags.
Okay.
It's also great packing material, though.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
For any of these
uses-
recyclable
Yeah.
materials, if you can
Paper
reuse
mache
it
crafts.
or repurpose it, we ask that people
The problem is, where do
donate
you
it.
keep it at your house until
Sure,
you're ready
sure.
to use it? One of the things that I was surprised at was paper towels and tissues are not allowed either in the
No,
recycling.
they're not. They should be taken out.
Okay, so that's the kind of paper. Paper, cardboard. Now, milk cartons, for example,
Milk cartons are fine.
and like a cottage cheese, plastic.
Into plastics, yes. So for paper, yes, the
Yeah.
paper cartons and things.
Okay, let's talk about metals and cans.
Cans, aluminum foil.
Yeah.
I had a woman come in the other day. She goes, "Can I recycle aluminum foil?" I said, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
We recommend that you do. Oh my God! All these years I didn't know.
Oh my
you know, but absolutely, aluminum foil, cans, and you don't need to worry about cleaning it out so much. You rinse it out, and I mean they've told me you don't. Because water's a commodity as well. So, but you can use one of those plastic
Rubber spatula.
Yeah, just
spatula.
Just get all the soup out. We don't want the soup. Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
Eat all your soup.
Okay, glass. That's another one too. Glass
Glass bottles, glass
bottles.
straws.
Yeah,
They can all be recycled.
Any color.
but not glass. Not like window glass or
No.
broken glass or broken plates.
They would go into most likely the C&D or the trash.
Okay.
For the broken
C&D
glass.
for the broken
Well,
glass?
we don't want to have
Windows.
glass,
Windows, yeah.
broken glass in these bags for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
It's a hazard for yourself.
Yeah.
So yes, but glass bottles, jars, any color. The reason is drinkware and ceramics and Pyrex dishes, just a different glass, and it's made at a different temperature. So if it is to go into a glass recycling and it came back in your soda bottle, it could burst or cause a blemish, and then your soda would be leaking all over your,
Okay.
clothes.
It gets complicated, though, right?
It does.
And then finally,
simple.
plastic containers.
Yep.
Well, it's
Now, what-
obvious.
Okay. All the packaging we get when we buy a toy or a utensil.
Styrofoam.
No, I'm just talking about the clear
Blister
plastic
packing.
thing. The
That'd
blister
be a
packs.
trash item.
Can those go?
Trash item.
Trash, not
Are
recycled.
you talking
Correct.
bubble wrap?
No, I'm talking about the
That
plastic
hard
stuff
plastic
that comes
that
hard
something would
plastic
be
stuff that
around.
makes it impossible to
yeah,
keep
to
the things
open.
out.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
all
that
that
goes-
goes in the trash.
Yes, sir.
So when we're talking about plastic containers, we're talking about like
Water
things
bottles.
from food or
Water
Soap.
bottles, soap.
water bottles.
Yep, so bottles where the neck is narrower than the base, like a shampoo or a soap bottle, as well as a container like yogurt, cottage cheese,
Okay.
And deli containers.
But not the top of the container cup, right?
That can go in
Yes.
with, yep.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
that's
Cups,
recyclable.
tubs and lids. Yep.
Okay, we're almost out of time. Believe it or not, I can't believe we're talking about pay-as-you-throw for this long already. But a couple quick questions. Who's going to monitor recyclables? Like, if I throw something in there and the guy sees it and says, wait a minute, you're not supposed to be throwing that in there. It's already in there.
At that point, I mean, Rhode Island Resource recognizes that mistakes happen, and sometimes when something that isn't recyclable gets in. They're somewhat flexible. I mean, they would love to have completely 100% clean recyclable, but up to maybe 10%.
Okay, so they
is
expect
accepted.
some of that to happen.
Yes, it happens.
Okay, listen, thank you guys both for being on
Thank
board
you.
today.
Thank you,
and
Doug.
good
Appreciate
luck
it.
with your rollout.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week on Portsmouth This Week.